Welcome back, welcome back. It's your boy Mike back at it, man. And it's time for us to go ahead and head into this bye week. Much waited for week 14, the latest bye week that you realistically can have in a season. And it comes at a perfect time after a physical game against Pittsburgh, going into a physical game against the Niners. And as we take a look at this updated playoff picture, you see San Fran, who we will face next week, currently sitting at that 7 spot. Seattle also in the mix at the 6 seed. And, of course, Dallas and Washington, still the two top teams of the NFC. On the AFC side, Kansas City, Cleveland, New York, and Jacksonville continue to keep those spots. The Bengals and Ravens at 5 and 6. And after a tight loss last week to Arizona, Pittsburgh has dropped out and been replaced by the Chargers. Man, home stretch of the season, not a whole lot of football left to play. It'll be intriguing to see how some of these races, come down. A lot of competition for those 6 and 7 spots in both conferences. The 5 spots in each one you'd assume would be relatively locked up, but only time will tell. As I felt like this was the perfect time to go ahead and get into some of the stats around the league, how our team is doing, and just a little bit of news from around the NFL. As this team is not going to rest on its laurels in the bye week, we are going to put in a little bit of extra work. Team didn't expect to be this far, and when something happens that's a little bit of a curveball, you got to adjust. Now, I know I haven't shown off the focus players or anything at all so far this year. We do have the 3 that we're doing are Paris Johnson, BJ Ojulari, and Ty Davis Price. I've been working on getting some more focus slots, but we do have that skill point acquisition, whatever they call it. We do have that on slow, not slowest, but slow. So it is definitely a grind, takes a lot longer, which is the point. We don't want to be able to have access to everything just a season or 2 in. Really want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can as Ojulari goes ahead and gets that gold medal. Great job from him. And Ojulari, man, coming off of a fantastic game against Pittsburgh where he had 2.5 sacks. Really, really good job from him. As Ty Davis Price ready to go ahead and take the mantle. Man, I wish they had some kind of offensive lineman drills, because they really don't develop super quickly. And, not only do they not develop quickly, they actually develop relatively slowly. And, the Focus XP does help. But, if he was able to get an extra 500-600 the way that some of these other guys are able to, it would really be a big help in that. As I don't know if you all had noticed it, but as you see on toss plays ever since the update dropped, on toss plays specifically in this rushing attack drill, the fullback does not block anybody. It doesn't matter if you try to lead him to the block. Look, take a look. So see, he's just going to run right up the field, and he's not going to bother to block anyone. It is really annoying at times. Obviously, a lot easier to kind of juke and get around the defenders in the drill, but having to do it every time, sometimes having to go try to get around both of them is really, really difficult. So as we do it there. But, as we're coming up towards the end of this season, a couple of thoughts about the team so far. Josh Dobbs, unfortunately did miss out on a game and a half of production when he got benched against Baltimore in that loss, and then sat on the sidelines as we got blown out against the Browns. He has been one of the top performing quarterbacks in the league this season, which is absolutely insane. Someone who was traded to them just a couple of days before the season started, has been a journeyman, got drafted by the Steelers, spent some time with the Titans, ended up on the Browns where he was traded to the Cardinals, but he's really done a good job. This offensive line has really punched well above their weight class. Of course, DJ Humphries and Paris Johnson are no slouches. Will Hernandez, a solid starter in his own right. But, that left guard center spot with Netani Moody and Elijah Wilkinson was expected to be a thorn in this offensive side. And both of those guys have actually performed admirably. Obviously you are always looking to improve, but those guys have done a really good job. And not just block in the passing game for Josh Dobbs, but in the running game as well. Now, obviously, the last few weeks, since the first few weeks, Ty Davis Price hasn't really had that kind of breakout impact like he did early on in the season, which was to be expected. It was never going to be realistic to assume that Davis Price was going to be able to keep up that production game in and game out over the course of this whole season. But he did get a nice head start, and currently is leading the league in rushing yards. So really, really good get from San Fran there. We gave up, it was either 2 fourths or 2 fifths. I can't remember which one it was, but either way, we would gladly do that trade again, as we're going to go ahead and take a look at the standings. As the Chiefs, you see, man, 11-1, Cowboys 9-3, the Browns and Jets also 9-3, and the Commanders, as we mentioned, they were the third best team in the league, but after losing last week, they are no longer, as your Arizona Cardinals are the number 6 team at 9-4. And then you see really, really congested middle. A lot of teams at 7-5, 6-6. You're gonna actually, the Eagles having a very much of a surprise season, along with the Bills, both only 5-7. Definitely not where either of these fan bases or organizations thought their team would be this season at this point. And take a look, man. The Texans currently hold the number 4 pick in the draft up to this point, which means that the Cardinals hold the number 4 pick in the draft up to this point. And, we focused in on a few guys offensively. We're going to get into some defensive players here a little bit later on in this one. But obviously rooting for them to lose, a lot of games down the stretch. They do have to play the Titans twice, which is going to, kind of dictate kind of how things are going to end up, because, if they lose to, or if they manage to beat the Titans once, that tiebreaker could come into play if they end up with the same record, a whole lot of things right there. But we're obviously rooting against the Texans in every matchup. We're glad we were able to beat them, really help ourselves out in that regard. As we take a look at some of these top passing guys, Patrick Mahomes leading the way, 3,152 yards, 26 touchdowns. Ty Davis Price, the rushing leader, 1,300 yards, 10 scores. Cooper Kupp, we know what he can do, 1,254 yards, 13 touchdowns. Max Crosby, 10 sacks. Greedy with 7 INTs, and you see Zaven Collins and Jalen Johnson up there with them as well. Josh Dobbs, we were just mentioning, man, 2,700 yards, 29 touchdowns, 16 picks. Since coming back from his benching, he has 15 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions, and he's been lights out. Ty Davis Price averaging 6.2 a carry, 1,300 yards, 10 TDs, a hair under 100 yards a game. Tariq Cohen down there, 374 yards. Been a great change of pace back. Really, really excited about what he's done for this team. 2 touchdowns, and Dobbs, of course, having a little bit of his own. Rondo Moore leading the way for us with 59 catches for 940 yards and 9 scores. Rashad Bateman, since coming over, has 34 catches for 584 yards and 6 TDs. Really been a good part of this offense since he came on over. And then Trey McBride, again, the unheralded part of this trio of receivers, 36 for 577 and 9 scores, not letting those two guys outshine them. And then, Bryan Edwards, 3 TDs, a couple of guys with some catches down there. Higgins has a bunch of first down catches. And we were talking about this offensive line, man, haven't given up a whole lot of ground, as far as sacks allowed and things like that. Done a great job on the ground. Zaven Collins leading the way defensively, 87 tackles. Jalen Thompson, Marco Wilson, tackles for loss, of course, him, Cam Thomas leading the way. BJ Ojulari in double digits with 10. And then sack-wise, Cam Thomas leading the way at 7.5. BJ Ojulari, 5.5. Zaven Collins and Jalen Thompson. How about Jalen Thompson, the safety, with 4 sacks? If you remember, Jamal Adams broke the record for sacks in a season by a DB not too long ago. I believe he ended up that season with, I'm going to definitely have to remember to fact check this one. I believe it was 5.5 and he got 6, or maybe it was 6.5 and he got 7, something like that. Greedy, Zaven Collins, Jalen Johnson really doing a good job taking the ball away. Israel McQuamu, Kaiser White, of course, had that 2 interception game. But yeah, man, definitely liking what we're seeing from the defense. Those 2 games post trades, we really struggled, but the team has managed to make their way back into respectability territory, from a team standpoint. Matt Prater, perfect on his field goals, has missed 2 extra points. They did both happen in the same game earlier this year. Nolan Cooney, 30 punts, and that net average yards a punt is atrocious, bottom of the league, as a matter of fact. Nothing really to speak about as far as returns go. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the league leaders as well. Patrick Mahomes, just absolutely ridiculous. 26 touchdowns to 1 interception in 12 games. 1 interception. Talk about elite production. As you say, 19-5, 20-6, 26-4 for Aaron Rodgers, 34-5 for Joe Burrow. Man, the caliber of passers in this league today, man, is absolutely insane. As Dobbs is second in the league currently with 29 TDs. And again, if he doesn't miss that last game and a half, who's to say if he's not, pushing that 35 number potentially, but he's not as we sit down here, and is leading the league in INTs. Got to think that'd probably be maybe 1 or 2 higher as well, but he's played absolutely fantastically as the trio of rookie passers all right there in that high interception range. But again, the way that the team's been playing, there's a lot to like. Obviously not a finished product. The fact that the team has played the way they have this year is honestly a testament to them and the fight and grit that they've, kind of mentally etched into their heads. And, head coach Mike White isn't doing anything spectacular with them. He's just letting them play their game, kind of tailoring his offense and defense to the strengths of those players. And they're, helping him out. They're repaying him with production, with wins, next week when we take on San Francisco, it's going to be a game that could potentially be for the division, with still 3 or 4 games left to play. And, with the way that we've been rolling, why not us? Why can't it be us? Again, I personally was not expecting the team to really be clicking like this. I expected the offensive line to be a major cause for concern. I expected the defensive line to absolutely be manhandled against most teams, and that just hasn't proven to be the case. Dobbs, of course, has taken some deep shots, and he does face pressure, on a somewhat consistent basis, but he's been able to get the ball out quickly when he's needed to. He's taken some deep shots when the opportunities have arisen. And yeah, he's missed some balls. Every quarterback does, and he's by no means elite, but he's been a very, very good player for us this year. Someone that we have, been thinking about bringing back for next year and beyond, even if it's not to start, to, continue to be a backup, continue to help instill a new culture within this team, one that's needed to be instilled for years now. And, when Kyler Murray not playing at all this year, of course, everyone counted Arizona out. And something that I'm just kind of thinking about, obviously it's a little bit different, but, Bengal, he's doing a Falcons franchise, obviously a slightly bigger YouTuber than I am at this point. But his first season, his Falcons teams had a lot of really good wins. They also had a lot of really ugly losses, and they ended up making the playoffs, at 8-9, and making it, what was it, to the conference championship, I want to say. They might have lost in the divisional round, but either way, they won a playoff game, or maybe it was 2. I can't remember off the top of my head, but, and I know he tries to make a really fun an engaging franchise as well. And, I've been trying to do what I can. I started with some slider adjustments. I've been adjusting a little bit throughout the season. Of course, just adjusted last week in that before that Pittsburgh game. And, we're hoping that those can help us out. Again, I don't want it to be a situation where, I'm having to handicap myself in such a severe way that it's almost impossible to win. I want to take losses. The team obviously is not in a good spot and it's only going to get better. But at the same time, folks who have their quarterback accuracy on 10, that I don't want to do that. That's not fun for me. As much as I want to do something, put out a product that everyone is able to enjoy and have a really good time with and see the progression over time. I also think that it's necessary that, I myself am able to have enjoyment with it, because sitting down, playing these games, editing these videos, doing these voiceovers, it's, it does take time. And again, I really enjoy it. I really love doing it. But, I wouldn't love doing it if I was only doing it strictly for you guys, for the audience. So I'm still going to continue to tinker around with those. Nothing is final. Nothing is absolute. And again, if things are still too easy, not in a spot where we have to really try. And, I felt like that first game against Pittsburgh was a fine game, a really good measuring stick. They have a really, really good defense. We were able to take advantage of secondary missing, what their second best corner and Joey Porter Jr. And we weren't able to have a whole lot of success on the ground, enough success while, likewise on their side, even though our defensive front isn't amazing, B.J. Ojulari and Cameron Thomas have developed into, pretty good players. Obviously I think they're both about 77 overall at this point. And, teams have to really game plan for them now, especially Zaven Collins as well. Him and Kaiser White have proved to be quite the fearsome linebacker duo. I'd be shocked if Zaven Collins wasn't, if not best linebacker, him or Cam Thomas, if they weren't just right there as we see B.J. Ojulari here leading the way defensive rookie of the year. And, again, like I said, we're not going to do anything but get better. And, I kind of thought after those couple of games against the Ravens and Browns that maybe the sliders were in a good place because, Dobbs was missing a lot of throws. Duggan, of course, is just so low overall that we weren't expecting him to really be able to hit a lot of those deep shots, although his one touchdown against Cleveland was a deep shot. But, we want to see some of those overthrows. But, some of the gimmies, some of the layups, if I throw a 3-yard, just kind of sitter route, a 3-yard curl, 8 times out of 10, pretty much any quarterback should be hitting that, assuming there's no pressure, things like that. And, I've played on some quarterback accuracy settings in the past where it's actually the complete opposite, rather than 8 for 10, it's like they're completing 2 for 10, no pressure, nothing going on, everything like that. So again, I'll continue to work. I want you all to continue to let me know, about how you're feeling about the way things are operating. As of now, of course, it does look likely that we'll make the playoffs, barring a complete collapse. But I just think that overall, man, the team has done a good job of playing to their strengths, as I mentioned before. And it's something that we're going to continue to try to do, something we're going to continue to, work on throughout the season. But, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get into these defensive draft prospects, man. Jonathan Hooker was the first up. B block shed, C power moves, but it's that strength, great to elite, that's really, really caught my attention. B play recognition, and C awareness. Might not be someone that we take super, super high, but at B block shed, someone that could develop into a nice run stopper and potentially more as a pass rusher as he kind of grows a little bit. Chad Pritchett, Texas Tech, C block shed, A to C power moves. We're still not 100% sure either way, but does have A tackling and again that strength, great to elite, as well as the speed and acceleration, good to great, great to elite. B awareness, B play recognition. Could be someone again who starts off maybe in a more just kind of fill-in role, just coming in to relieve guys, but could blossom eventually. And then Trevor Sidney, again, I don't have a whole lot of information on him up to this point, but he looks like one of my more so one of my favorite players from this defensive line group. B awareness, the play recognition, if I had to guess, will probably be pretty close to a B. And he went to LSU, which is a big plus in my book. And how about Lloyd Carson, man? Day 3 projected guy, 21 years old. Not going to be a really good run stopper, but with A finesse moves, great to elite acceleration off the edge. This could be someone who could be a situational pass rusher, someone who comes in just to, again, just give some guys breathers on obvious passing situations as well, with his ability to get after that quarterback based on those A finesse moves. Someone to keep an eye on, especially with a day 3 pick. D tackle Juan Drummond, B block shed, A finesse moves, B awareness, B tackle, B play rec. This guy looks like he could really be a good player. The interior of our defensive line is not good at all. Dante Stills, has had a little bit of production. Lecky Fotu. But, then you got guys like LJ Collier, Carlos Watkins, not a whole lot of names going on there. So that could be someone we target. Cal Malachi, A zone coverage with these left outside, with the outside linebackers. Sometimes looking at those coverages are really difficult to kind of determine because, you do have a mix of pass rushers and coverage guys, but great to elite speed and acceleration, very promising. Also A man, A awareness. But because, they're not comparing it's not A zone coverage in relation to the NFL. It's A zone coverage in relation to the guys at your position in this particular draft. So, something we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on and be mindful of. Juan Person. Oh, oops. Cam Wilhelm, man, middle linebacker. Linebacker not an immediate need, but great to elite speed, good to great acceleration. Kaiser White, I don't believe is signed beyond this year, so that could be a potential replacement there. A catching, A man. And then another guy, we already talked a little bit about Michael Smith when his prospect profile, when his prospect spotlight came up a few episodes ago. Then we have James Hull, right outside linebacker, B block shed, A hit power, A pursuit, and A tackling. That's a top of the draft kind of guy, though. Mike Campbell, and I doubt we'd be, electing to spend a top 5 pick, even on an elite pass rusher, considering Ojulari and Cam Thomas have been so successful for us this year. But Mike Campbell, 21 years old, Ohio State, A pursuit, B to D block shed. Hopefully that would lean more towards the B side, but with great to elite speed, good to great acceleration and strength. And then, just a very solid athlete all around. Definitely looks like he's going to be more of a pass rush guy, considering that speed rusher archetype. But that zone coverage, could end up being somewhat decent as well, as we're going to continue to go ahead and take a look at some of these guys. Isaiah Cox, I just wanted to take a quick look at him. Nothing bounced off the page too much other than that pursuit. But he is 22 years old. Man, with these run stoppers, it's really hard to tell because a lot of them will be speedy, 87, 88, 89 speed, and good tackling. But then their zone coverage, their coverages are in the 40s. As B to D man, A to C zone, again, someone to keep an eye on. Ron McKee, 6'1", 6'1", 203 pounds, 22 years old. Look at the speed and acceleration and strength, all great to elite. And with that size, man, could be someone to keep an eye on. A zone, A press, C man. Now, we are more of a man-heavy defense, so maybe not quite the direction we'd want to go. But again, with that speed, that build, that athletic profile, probably someone that we could kind of just mold into more so what we would like him to be. But then there's Andrew Stinson with A man and B press and B zone. Also someone to keep an eye on, similar in size right there. Safety, after trading Buda Baker, we do have Marco Wilson back there, who's fine. He's only 24, he'll be 25 next year, but we want a playmaker back there. Marco Wilson is fine. He can cover enough. He's a okay tackler, but he's not someone who's going to make a quarterback think twice about throwing his way, or someone who's going to keep offensive coordinators up at night, thinking about, oh no, we got Marco Wilson on tap. Oh no, if anything, they're more concerned about Jalen Thompson, of course, and Marquise Blair, who has filled in for Marco Wilson a few times up to this point, also not someone to sneeze at. So a couple of guys that we're taking a look at here. Again, I don't think any of these guys have really stood out to me as game wreckers. And, with a lot of these guys saying round 1 to 2, I find it unlikely that we'd elect to spend a high pick on a safety, or a first round pick at least. But there's no telling. There's a lot of time between now and the draft. Some different things might become a little bit more clear as we continue on with the rest of the regular season, and, fingers crossed, maybe postseason game or 2 or 3, just kind of, we'll see how things work on that front. But, again, I wanted to take this time. I know haven't really shown a whole lot of the draft. I know I did the first half of the offense. Haven't really shown a lot of what's going on around the league too often. So wanted to take this time, get this bye week. I know it's a longer episode for one that isn't going to contain any actual gameplay, as well as one that doesn't have, like any off-season things going on. But, wanted to talk to you all about the state of the team, kind of how I've been thinking about it. Wanted to, just have kind of a dialogue so I can hear what you all have to say about how you're enjoying everything so far. If there's anything, that I could improve upon to make it better for you from a viewer standpoint. And right now we're just, taking a look at what the team currently stands, how they currently stand going into the last few games of the year. Having a lot of good progress. The two Jalens, Thompson and Johnson, leading the charge over there at the top of the roster. And Jalen Johnson, man, obviously he's not Buda Baker, but he's done about as well as we could have asked, outside of being absolutely blessed by Hollywood Brown in his first game with us. He's done a really, really good job. We're happy to have him. We're happy that he's a part of this team. He's able to teach Greedy Williams. I know they're similar in age, but he's obviously been through it more than Greedy has in Greedy's kind of, injury-plagued career. But that is going to do it for us here in this one. Next week, of course, well, I guess this week now that we've advanced, we are going to have a rematch with the San Francisco 49ers, and this could be a big one. 8-5 against 9-4. Again, we do have a win over them already, and I'm not sure what their losses are looking like in the division other than that. Obviously, we have another divisional loss to the Rams, or a divisional loss to the Rams. So a loss here would give us a second, and I'm not sure what that tiebreaker would kind of look like up to this point. But hopefully we're not going to have to worry about that, man. Thank y'all so much, as always, for tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe should you feel so inclined. Y'all have a great rest of your day. It's been your boy, Mike. Peace.